Hello and welcome to Chapter 17 of A Call from the Stars, A Call to Arms. Point of view. Former slave of the sniff hegemony. I remember my time seeing the humans. I was scared, but grateful. I didn't know that they had come to liberate us at first. I was one of the only few males of my species to be maintained. All the rest were sent to work camps or used for food by our captors. Originally, we come from a rather mud-filled world. That's what the humans call it. Very, very viscous, but it works for us. At the time, we had just started reaching out to the stars. We had just started building our telescopes. But all that changed when our oppressors showed up. They flew in with a massive fleet and immediately started tearing apart our civilizations. Our villages, our towns, our cities fell like grass beneath a blade. And then they took us. They took us kicking and screaming, trying to run away. But unfortunately, those four large legs were able to chase us. Thankfully, if we got deep enough into our mud, our home, they couldn't chase us all that well and would use other means of getting us out. Usually, this involved things like electric shock, which we are not very accustomed to. Under subjugation, we were brought up that if we even looked sideways at our oppressors, we may be beaten or eaten at any given time. Most of our males were shipped away to work colonies in areas that were similar to our home planet, but not suitable for those who had enslaved us. This meant that only a few of us were kept around for comfort of the females, probably one of the only good parts of what happened. However, I was barely 3 or 4 cycles out of my egg when they took me, and thankfully it took another 4 years before they found me. Due to this, I was sent over into the nurseries with my mother, being that I was so small. However, I very, very quickly learned the brutality of those who had taken us from our homes. Not only was there a chance that they would just simply get hungry, grab one of us, rip a piece off, and eat it right in front of us, which they seemed to divide some sort of pleasure from doing as we screamed in pain. Even though we can regenerate our bodies, this did not bode well for us, as if we could not keep up our work, we were most likely in for a beating or worse. However, the worst ever that I saw was what happened to my hatchmate. Humans call it a sibling, my sister. We were not taken for more than a year when one of the males of these, as the humans say, these big bastards, took her, and in front of me, my mother, and my other hatchmates, she was. I cannot. I can't go on. I'm sorry. I must change. When the humans first invading the planet we were on, we heard the fighting, we heard all the alarms go off, but we stuck to our work. We had to stick to our work. We had been conditioned from a young age. My mother had once not focused on her work, and she was taken outside, snapped in half, and they ate her. It was horrible to hear her screams. I didn't dare look out to see what had happened or what was left. All I knew was that I had to focus on my work. These things continued to come back at us every once in a while, screaming in their own tongue, which was difficult for us to understand, but not impossible. We did have a translator. It was a small organic piece attached to us, but it was strange. They started saying different phrases that we had never heard before. I never would have thought that our oppressors would have shown fear, but they did. They did as the buildings began to rumble and the sounds of what I now know as weapons fire perforate the air, as projectiles perforated the walls. But we kept to our duties. We knew that if we did not keep going, that we may as well just kiss our lives goodbye. When the humans first came in, we tried to pay them no mind. These giant mechanical bipeded monsters. We didn't know what to do, so we just kept doing our work. They looked at us, they raised their weapons to us, and I will admit, my blood ran colder than it normally does. I thought now I would immediately be done for, because this device was clearly a weapon. I had watched it end one of my oppressors right in front of us, but we didn't dare shed from our work. Instead, one came up, grabbed us, and put us into a group. Apparently, they had already figured out our language and put a small mechanical piece next to my head and next to the head of the others and said, "We are here to save you." We didn't believe them at first, but it wasn't until we saw more come in and they started looking us over, and it was clearly looking for us if we were hurt. This one with a strange red mark on it. It came to us and began to bandage any wounds that we had received. It was strange. We didn't know what to do, so we just looked at them. It didn't occur to us that they were here to truly, truly help us. We simply thought another oppressor had come. What was truly amazing to us is when they showed up with these massive boxes of a material we had never seen before. They opened them up and then suddenly started handing us things and telling us it's food, eat. Of course, it didn't taste well, and we looked at them with partial disgust. And one of the humans, I will never forget, said, "Don't worry, it's military rations. It's not meant to taste good. Just eat it." So we listened, because that's what we were conditioned to do. It wasn't until later that day, as the fighting continued across the city, and then I saw one of the massive buildings that we were never allowed to be in be obliterated. We looked across as we heard the sounds of all these, what I knew now to be humans, pointing, pointing at these buildings way off in the distance as suddenly massive pieces of metal, metal with fire behind it, and some sort of blue and green came down from the sky and just turned that area into nothing but a glowing pit. We realized as they cheered, they were not here to hurt us at all. For the first time in a while, I believe I smiled. This seemed to scare the humans around us, as they didn't know what a smile was from us. They learned. It was not for another few days that we were finally given the option if we wanted to join their crews and fight back, or if we just wanted to wait for a ride home. Being a male, I knew what my job was to do. It was to fight. It was to protect. It was to get our home back.